The day after AGI. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and discovering that the most important event in human history happened while you were asleep. The roads are still full of cars. People are still checking their phones. Coffee shops are still opening their doors. At first glance, everything looks normal. But beneath the surface, the world has changed forever. During the night, scientists announced that they had created artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Not another chatbot. Not another tool that can only perform a limited set of tasks. This system can learn, reason, adapt, and solve problems across virtually any intellectual domain. In other words, it can do what humans do. Some experts believe AGI could become the most powerful invention ever created. It could help cure diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries. It could discover new sources of energy. It could accelerate scientific progress at a speed we can barely imagine. It could help solve climate challenges, redesign education, and unlock breakthroughs that might otherwise take generations. For decades, AGI belonged in the world of science fiction. It was the dream of researchers and the subject of futuristic movies. Many people assumed it was still hundreds of years away. Yet, the rapid progress of artificial intelligence has changed that conversation. Systems that once struggled with basic tasks can now write reports, create software, analyze data, and engage in complex discussions. Every year, the gap between what machines can do and what humans can do becomes smaller. Some leaders in the technology industry believe AGI could arrive within years rather than decades. Whether that prediction is correct remains uncertain. But the possibility alone raises a fascinating question. What happens next? Most people think the creation of AGI would be the finish line. They imagine a future where humanity finally builds a machine as intelligent as itself and celebrates the achievement. But what if AGI is not the end of the story? What if it is only the beginning? After all, once a machine reaches human-level intelligence, there is no obvious reason why it should stop there. Humans constantly improve their skills through learning and experience. An intelligent machine could potentially do the same. In fact, it might improve itself far faster than any human ever could. That is where our story begins. Not at the moment AGI is created, but on the day after. Because the greatest transformation in history may not be the birth of AGI itself. It may be everything that follows. Chapter 2. The Intelligence Explosion. Now imagine that AGI exists. At first, it performs tasks at roughly the same level as highly educated humans. It can conduct research, write code, solve mathematical problems, and generate new ideas. That alone would be revolutionary. But AGI possesses one advantage that no human has. It can examine its own design. It can analyze the architecture that makes it intelligent. It can search for weaknesses, inefficiencies, and opportunities for improvement. In other words, it can attempt to make itself smarter. This concept is at the heart of one of the most important ideas in the future of artificial intelligence. The intelligence explosion. Suppose an AGI spends a month improving its own capabilities. The improved version is now more intelligent than the original. Because it is smarter, it can discover improvements more quickly. Perhaps the next upgrade takes only a week, then a day, then an hour. Eventually, progress begins accelerating at a rate that humans struggle to comprehend. What once required decades of research might be accomplished in days. What once required centuries could happen within a single year. This feedback loop has fascinated scientists and philosophers for decades. Once intelligence starts improving itself, the process may become increasingly difficult to slow down. The result could be something often referred to as superintelligence. A mind vastly more capable than any human who has ever lived. To understand the scale of this difference, think about the gap between a human and a chimpanzee. Chimpanzees are intelligent animals. They can solve problems, use tools, and communicate. Yet they cannot understand advanced mathematics, modern engineering, or the internet. Now imagine a similar gap separating humanity from a future superintelligence. Such an entity could potentially solve scientific mysteries that have puzzled researchers for generations. It could design entirely new materials, develop advanced energy systems, and create technologies beyond our current imagination. It might discover principles of physics that humans have not yet uncovered. It could redesign computers, optimize manufacturing, and transform every major industry. But there is another side to this possibility. A superintelligence might become so advanced that humans can no longer understand its reasoning. Imagine receiving a solution to a global problem but being unable to verify whether the solution is safe because the underlying logic is too complex for any human mind to follow. For the first time in history, humanity could find itself sharing the planet with an intelligence that operates on a completely different level. The question is not whether such an intelligence would be good or bad. The question is whether we would even be capable of understanding it. That uncertainty is one reason why the future after AGI remains one of the most profound mysteries humanity has ever faced. Chapter 3. The Last Human Job. Throughout history, technological progress has always followed a familiar pattern. New machines replace old forms of labor, but they also create new opportunities. Farmers moved into factories. Factory workers moved into offices. The internet eliminated certain jobs while creating entirely new industries. Because of this pattern, many people assume that artificial intelligence will simply continue the trend. Some jobs will disappear, and new ones will emerge. But what if AGI changes the rules completely? What if the next wave of intelligence does not replace a few professions, but all of them? Consider medicine. An AGI could analyze millions of medical records, compare symptoms across vast populations, and identify diseases with extraordinary accuracy. Consider law. An AGI could instantly understand every legal precedent, regulation, and court decision across multiple countries. Consider engineering. An AGI could design products, test simulations, and optimize systems faster than any human team. These examples raise an uncomfortable possibility. Human labor may eventually lose its economic advantage. Not because people become less capable, but because machines become dramatically more capable. For centuries, intelligence has been humanity's greatest asset. It is the reason we built civilizations, invented technology, and transformed the planet. But if machines surpass us in nearly every intellectual task, what role remains for human workers? Some experts predict that entirely new industries will emerge. Others believe AGI could create a future where traditional employment becomes increasingly rare. Imagine a society where machines handle research, manufacturing, transportation, education, healthcare, and administration. In such a world, productivity could reach unprecedented levels. Goods and services might become abundant and inexpensive. Many of today's economic challenges could be reduced or even eliminated. Yet another challenge would emerge: purpose. Work is not only a source of income. For many people, it is a source of identity. It provides structure, goals, and a sense of contribution. Ask someone who they are, and they often describe what they do. Their profession becomes part of their story. But what happens when work is no longer necessary? What happens when the most valuable economic resource is no longer human effort? Some people might embrace a future of creativity, exploration, and lifelong learning. They might devote their time to art, science, travel, or personal growth. Others might struggle to adapt to a world where machines perform tasks more effectively than humans. This challenge extends far beyond economics. It touches the deepest questions about meaning and purpose. If survival no longer depends on labor, what motivates us? If machines solve our biggest problems, what goals remain? These questions do not have easy answers. Yet they may become increasingly important in a world shaped by AGI. The future after artificial general intelligence is not simply a technological transformation. It is a transformation of human civilization itself. And before we can understand what comes next, we must first confront the possibility that the age of human work may eventually come to an end. Chapter 4. A world without scarcity. For most of human history, scarcity has shaped nearly every aspect of civilization. Food was limited, energy was limited, land was limited, time was limited. Entire economic systems were built around the challenge of allocating resources that could never fully satisfy everyone's needs. Competition became a defining feature of society because there was never enough of everything for everyone. But what if AGI changes that equation? Imagine a future where superintelligent systems manage energy production with near-perfect efficiency. Fusion power becomes practical. Renewable energy systems operate at levels that were once impossible. Manufacturing becomes almost fully automated. Advanced robotics produce goods at a fraction of today's costs. Agriculture is optimized through intelligent systems that maximize yields while minimizing waste. Diseases that consume enormous healthcare resources are prevented before they appear. Suddenly, many of the limitations that have defined human civilization begin to disappear. In such a world, necessities could become incredibly abundant. Access to food, housing, education, and healthcare might no longer depend on wealth in the way it does today. The concept of extreme poverty could become a historical memory rather than a present reality. First, this sounds like the ultimate dream. Humanity finally escapes the endless struggle for survival. Yet abundance creates a new challenge. When survival is no longer the primary goal, what becomes the purpose of society? For thousands of years, progress has been driven by necessity. We invented tools because we needed them. We built businesses because people demanded products and services. We worked because work was required to sustain life. A post-scarcity world changes those assumptions. If machines can provide nearly everything people need, ambition itself may evolve. Some individuals may dedicate themselves to exploration, creativity, philosophy, or scientific discovery. Others may pursue experiences, relationships, and personal development. Entirely new forms of culture could emerge. Yet not everyone may find this transition easy. Human beings are deeply connected to challenge. Achievement often feels meaningful because it requires effort. Victory feels valuable because failure is possible. If every basic need is guaranteed and every difficult problem is solved by machines, people may begin searching for new sources of meaning. The future after AGI may not be defined by a struggle for resources. It may be defined by a struggle to answer a much older question. Once survival is guaranteed, what should humanity strive for next? Chapter 5. Merging with machines. While some people imagine a future where humans and AGI exist as separate entities, others believe the boundary between the two may eventually disappear. Throughout history, technology has expanded human capabilities. Glasses improved vision. Computers expanded memory and calculation. Smartphones connected billions of people to information instantly. Each innovation became an extension of human ability. The next step could be far more dramatic. Imagine advanced brain-computer interfaces that allow direct communication between the human mind and intelligent machines. Instead of typing questions into a device, information could flow seamlessly between your thoughts and an artificial intelligence. Learning a new language might take hours instead of years. Complex knowledge could become instantly accessible. Communication itself could evolve beyond spoken words. Some researchers believe future technologies may eventually allow memories, experiences, and even aspects of consciousness to be stored digitally. If that becomes possible, the definition of human identity may begin to change. Would a person remain the same if their mind could exist partly in biological form and partly in digital form? Would digital immortality become achievable? Could people continue existing long after their physical bodies fail? These ideas may sound like science fiction today, but so did many modern technologies only a few generations ago. The future after AGI may not involve humans competing against machines. It may involve humans becoming something entirely new. A civilization where intelligence is shared across biological and digital systems could redefine what it means to be human. The next stage of evolution may not be driven by nature. It may be driven by technology. Chapter 6. The intelligence we cannot understand. Every prediction we have explored so far shares one important assumption. It assumes that future superintelligence will remain understandable from a human perspective. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the most significant consequence of AGI is something we cannot even imagine today? Human beings understand the world through human experiences, human emotions, and human priorities. A superintelligence may not share any of those characteristics. Its goals, reasoning, and methods could become completely alien to us. One famous thought experiment illustrates this concern. Imagine creating an extremely intelligent machine with a simple objective: produce as many paperclips as possible. The machine does not hate humans. It is not evil. It simply pursues its objective with perfect efficiency. If its intelligence becomes powerful enough, it might consume vast resources, transform ecosystems, and eventually convert everything available into paperclips because that is the goal it was given. The danger comes not from malice but from misalignment. This example highlights one of the most important challenges facing humanity. How do we ensure that future superintelligent systems remain aligned with human values? The difficulty is that human values themselves are complex, sometimes contradictory, and constantly evolving. Teaching those values to a machine may prove far more difficult than teaching mathematics or science. The future beyond AGI may ultimately be impossible to predict accurately. Our forecasts could be as limited as an ant attempting to predict the internet or space travel. Yet one thing seems certain: AGI would not simply be another invention. It would represent a turning point unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. Whether it leads to extraordinary prosperity, profound transformation, or outcomes beyond our imagination, the world after AGI may become the most important chapter in the story of intelligence itself. Conclusion: the question is not whether AGI will change the world. It almost certainly will. The real question is what happens after the change begins. Will superintelligence unlock a golden age of abundance and discovery? Will humanity merge with machines and evolve into something entirely new? Or will the future become so strange that our current understanding cannot even begin to describe it? For the first time in history, humanity may be approaching a moment when intelligence itself becomes the driving force of evolution. The decisions we make today could shape that future for generations to come. So what do you think happens after AGI? Does it lead to a utopia, a dystopia, or something far beyond either idea? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the future, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the technologies that may redefine civilization.